How's it going, World History class? Today we're going to talk about the Scientific Revolution, which is Chapter 22, Section 1 of your textbooks. The roots of the Scientific Revolution derive from an era of curiosity that was promoted by the Renaissance. Renaissance people were eager to learn about the world, about the state of, human internatural state. And the discoveries of the Americas, along with the Columbian Exchange, which was an exchange of people, bacteria, diseases, different plants and animals are coming back and forth between the old world and the new world, changed the knowledge of the world we lived in. There was, advances in technology and astronomy and mathematics. These advances helped scholars develop new theories. What ended up happening in the time of the 1550s is that humans, for the first time ever, experienced what we consider the scientific revolution, which is a way of viewing the world based on observation and inquiry. This challenges the traditional teachings and, of course, the church teachings. So let's go ahead and look at some of the people that, are credited with the scientific revolution. As mentioned earlier, the church was challenged. And one of the challenges that they had was that the church viewed planet Earth as the center of the universe. And the moon, the planets, and the stars all revolved around us. The idea was that God created Earth and everything will revolve around God's creation for us. This was known as a geocentric theory, and the church believed God made Earth at the center of the universe and planets, including the sun, revolved around planet Earth. It took two great astronomers to prove this theory. The first man was Nicholas Copernicus, and he used science and math to prove that the Earth, along with planets, revolved around the sun, not that everything revolved around us. Now, the heliocentric theory is the right theory because obviously today we know that we revolve around the sun. That's why we have different climates, different weathers, and we have seasons. Copernicus came up with this theory in the, mid 1500s, or early 1500s, since he was born 1473 to 1543 years later. And he proved Copernicus was right. He also proved that the heliocentric theory was correct. Galileo contributed to astronomy by discovering that Jupiter had 8 moons, not 4, and that the sun had spots. Galileo was also able to use instruments like the telescope to learn more about the surfaces of other planets. Now, today is, February of 2015. So if you think about what was happening nearly 400 years ago with the discovery of sun having spots, planets having more moons, and, understanding the way the universe works, it's very impressive because I myself, I hope many of probably you can either, you probably don't have the logic or the intelligence to go out and discover things about the world that we live in without the technology we have today. So these, scientists really changed the way people believed. And one of the people or the organization which hated this change was the church. The church actually had a trial in which the Pope forced Galileo to prove his teachings wrong. And this was to prevent people from losing faith in their religion and in their God. Although the science proved to be right, the church forced them to do away with his teachings so that the church can look correct and people will not have fear and people will still have faith in the church. In my opinion, that's still an argument that we have today. We still have church versus science, and I think that's going to continue forever. Let's talk a little bit about the scientific method. The scientific method happened around the mid 1550s. There's two people that are credited with it. It's Rene Descartes and Francis Bacon. Okay, Descartes helped create the scientific method of forming questions and scientific theories. Descartes promoted the use of mathematics and reason to find the truth in matters related to the natural world. He asked people to focus on logic, rather tradition and faith. And most of us as kids, when we were elementary, middle school, or high school, we all had a science experiment. And in a science experiment, we had to ask a question, do background research, construct a hypothesis, test your hypothesis by doing an experiment, analyze your data, and draw a conclusion. And then we had to present our results or communicate what we found. The idea of the scientific method has been around since the 1550s, and Rene Descartes and Francis Bacon both, argued that it's important to use reason and prove how things work versus letting faith, tradition, and oral stories kind of like guide people in the way they believed in. Okay, so these two people revolutionized science up till today. When we have some amazing scientists during this time, we have Isaac Newton, who was born 1643 and died 1727. He discovered the theory of motion and that everything or every object on Earth comes together because of gravity, right? We throw something in the air, it's going to come back down. Isaac Newton was credited with the law of gravity. Andreas Vesalius from 1514 to 1564 began focusing on the human anatomy, and he was able to understand more about the organs and how they work together by dissecting the first human beings. Andreas Vesalius, helped today's doctors understand more about the anatomy of the human body. And, he is one of the, first people that started dissecting human beings. This was actually frowned upon with the church. But as you know, it proves to be instrumental for us to understand how we live today. Edward Jenner from 1749 to 1823 was an awesome, a founder of medicine because he was a person that invented the world's first vaccine for smallpox. And as you've read in the past, smallpox was responsible for the death of hundreds and thousands, even millions of people in North and South America that came in contact with the European conquistadors or explorers during the age of exploration. These individuals really dramatically changed science and what we know about the world. Some of the instruments that were used during the scientific revolution was the thermometer, which measures temperature, the barometer, which measures air pressure and moisture, the microscope, which zooms in to bacteria, and of course the telescope that will help us understand more about our planets and the galaxy. Scientists used instruments such as a microscope, thermometer, barometer, and telescope to further their studies and understand more about the world. The innovation of these instruments led to more discoveries as time continues. And the word innovation refers to taking something that already exists and making it better and better. Similar to your cell phone. When cell phones began, they were big brick boxes. Heavy, you couldn't even fit it in your pocket. Today's cell phones are slim, they have cameras and GPS. Instruments in science have also changed over the course of time, and they have become better and better, so we're able to have better advances in science and medicine and in astronomy. This is Edward Jenner giving the smallpox vaccine. So here it is, kind of like a cartoon. People believe that you would turn into a cow or your body will deform when you take the smallpox vaccine, but the idea is that when you take a vaccine, you inject a little bit of the disease or whatever it is you're injecting, the bacteria, into your body. So people were afraid of it, but it proves that if you do it, then your body's going to be able to fight it. It will build a tough immune system. The last scientist we have is Robert Boyle. And Robert Boyle was more of a chemist. He found that matter was created by many different particles. In his theory, Boyle's law, he reveals interaction of volume, temperature, and gas pressure. Okay? I want to leave you with some closing thoughts. Much of the science and research that we use today began over 400 years ago. Scientists still use instruments and the science method or the scientific method to discover new things. The scientific revolution challenged traditional church beliefs and took power away from the church because people believed more in science and less in the teachings of the church. Humans during the mid 1550s began understanding more about the world they lived in, and that is the scientific revolution. Thank you.